This is one that I've thought about for a while. In every division, I don't think it's enough nowadays to just say who's the most violent fighter currently, because they cannot hold a candle to the guys in history. So I'm going to be going through every division and giving my picks for the most violent fighter in UFC history, or in their division's history. So this isn't that doesn't mean they're the best. That doesn't mean they're most skilled. That doesn't mean they're my favorite. That means they are the most violent. When you watch them, you are going to see someone probably get close to death as someone can get without dying. And kicking it off, we got to kick it off with the flyweights. I fucked up again, dude. I keep realizing that I have to click back on this. It's Deiveson Figueiredo. He is a scary, scary man. He left David Benavidez, or not David Benavidez. That's the boxer. He left Joseph Benavidez in a pool of his own blood twice. He had David Benavidez waking up screaming in terror. And I'm gonna just be quiet for just a bit so I can give a moment for showing it.
And then, I mean, Joe's okay. It's good to see him getting up. Let's take a look at some of the work.
I think that was enough time. Doesn't matter. I think he's the hardest hitting 125er ever. I think he's the hardest hitter ever. I mean, the guy was also huge for 125 pounds. He was a monster at 125. He had one of the nastiest guillotines, dude. Like, whenever he would latch up that guillotine, he would just squeeze. And since he was so big and strong, he could just hit in his... look at his abs. Those are, rock solid abs. He could literally just, he just, pull with all his might, and it'd feel like your neck was literally going to get ripped off your head. His submission against David Benavidez, one of the nastiest. His knockout against David Benavidez was one of the nastiest. I mean, he's Joseph Benavidez' dad. I kind of feel bad for Joseph Benavidez because, goddamn, he got violated by Figgy. But, his nickname is literally the God of War. The God of War. You can't get much more violent than a motherfucker named the God of War. Or can you? For Bantamweight, my pick is Petr Yan. Look at that motherfucker's stance. Such a violent stance, bro. You see the way he's standing? That's a man who's ready to get down and dirty. I mean, first off, he's a very crisp and technical boxer. But, dude, this man is willing to stand up in close range, and he's willing to trade in the pocket. And he will, 9 times out of 10, he will beat your shit in the pocket. He's really the only person to truly rock O'Malley on the feet. He beat the fuck out of Jose Aldo. Dude, he's a unit. He's a unit. He throws shots with bad intentions. He has good power in his hands for being as good as he is. The guy can keep a good pace. Once he gets into his rhythm, it's over. And I mean, his nickname is literally No Mercy. His nickname is literally No Mercy. Just an absolute fucking unit of a man. Love Petr Yan. Most violent bantamweight. Moving on. Featherweight. You got a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected this. It's Cub Swanson. He has one of the best fights in UFC history against Doo Ho Choi. You go to ask anyone who's seen that fight how good it was, one of the best fights they've ever seen, they'll say. He's 40 years old and he's still putting hands on motherfuckers. He's one of the best aged old fighters. He's aged better than most fighters have. The guy's still fast. He's still got heat in his hands. He's a menace. You should not underestimate him. If you've seen his fight against Darren Elkins, oh man. I think he was a year older than Darren Elkins. And it looked like a 32-year-old fighting a 42-year-old. He was piecing him up, bro. Dropped him, landed a spinning wheel kick on him. And this is going to be a theme. Yes, I do this for almost everyone except for one of them. His nickname is literally Killer. They called him Killer Cub Swanson. That's what Bruce Buffer would announce him as. Really early on, though. I think he dropped it after a while. I don't think he had him announced as Killer Cub Swanson against Hakeem Dawodu. But regardless, just a fucking violent man. He's ready. He's willing to go in there, throw hands, get that paycheck and dip. Speaking of throwing hands, we had to bring him in. Justin Gaethje is one of the most violent fighters in history. He's the most violent lightweight in history. There's no other way around it. Almost every fight he has is a fight of the year contender. He's regarded as the most violent fighter ever. Many regard him as the most violent fighter ever. He has look at that. He has the fucking, I'm pointing at this right now. I'm pointing at his stomach that says Death Before Dishonor. So I kind of feel stupid. But look at that. Death Before Dishonor. He takes that to a whole nother level. He has some of the heaviest hands in the UFC. This motherfucker slept Poirier. Let's look at the people he slept. James Vick. Poirier. He slept Barbosa. Cerrone. And you know what? He didn't sleep Tony Ferguson. But damn, did he put one of the worst beatings on that motherfucker. Damn! God damn! It was even worse because it was in the apex. You could hear the shots fucking bouncing off Tony's head. Oh my god. It was fucking brutal. I mean, just like the last three, this motherfucker's nickname is literally the highlight. I don't blame him. He has a crazy highlight reel. Even when he was in World Series of Fighting, this motherfucker was just randomly throwing out rolling thunders just because he could. It'd be like 5 seconds left in the round. He'd be standing right in front of them. He'd do a front flip rolling thunder. Right in front of them. Can't hate the guy. I love him. Welterweight, we had to do it. Our boy Robbie Lawler. He's just the welterweight version of Gaethje. Okay, all of his fights are highlight reels. He had the blessing to end his career with a brutal 30-second KO. A lot of people thought that Nico Price KO was staged. I don't think it was staged. I did think Nico Price went into that fight. I did think when he saw Robbie Lawler, go in for the clinch, I think he didn't try and escape it. I think he definitely tried to accept it and give him a fight that Robbie Lawler wanted. I don't think he expected to get KO'd in 30 seconds. Because I think he saw his old fights, against guys like Barberena, and he thought, I can take some of these shots, and then he got slept. The guys had some violent, brutal wars with Roy McDonald and Carlos Condit. All right, he has some of the heaviest hands in welterweight history. And you know what it is? The man's nickname is literally Ruthless. Middleweight. You know what it is. It's the man Wanderlei Silva. The UFC had to put rules in place to make him less violent. That is a lie. I made that up. But if they didn't have those rules, he would be just as violent. I mean, this motherfucker was stomping people's heads in while I was shitting in diapers. That was in Pride. That was in Pride. Let's be clear. That was in Pride. This motherfucker came to the UFC, more restrictive rules, couldn't stomp people's head, couldn't, do a lot of the stuff he could before. And he still had wars. Do you guys remember the legendary, I won now, I won now. I can't let you get close. Fucking beast. He's a Chad. He knocked out Rampage in Pride. This man's nickname is literally the Axe Murderer. And you know what? He got inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame, and he fucking earned it, dude. He fucking earned it. He earned getting in the UFC Hall of Fame. Light heavyweight, it's Jon Jones. Listen, I hate Jon Jones. With all my being, I hate Jon Jones. He's a shitty fucking human. He beats his wife. He's abused steroids. He's popped 5 times. But goddamn it, he's a violent motherfucker. Light heavyweight Jon Jones, he had probably the widest, biggest arsenal of strikes in the UFC. Alright? His elbows were nasty. Alright? He had one of the best clinch games because of his elbows. And his fucking, he'll feint and reach for your leg and then spinning back over you? That shit was crazy! And he could do that because he had such long arms. He had smashing knees, kicks, elbows, oblique kick. I don't even need to say anything else besides that. Oblique kick. He would stomp your knee and try to take out your entire athletic career. This man was not there to fight. He was there to kill you. I don't think he's like that anymore. I think he's fat and old now. But prime, light heavyweight, yeah, he's a violent motherfucker. I'll give you that. His nickname, Bones, it's not the scariest. But I think it works really well with his actual name. Jon Bones Jones. It just rolls off the tongue really well. So, yeah, no, I'll give him that. I'll give him that. He's a violent motherfucker. Speaking of violent motherfuckers, big man, big dog. The Gigantosaurus. Gaminosaur. Look at this man's highlight reel. All right, he's blessed with the touch of death. All right, remember what is it? Faraz Sahabi. I call it the touch of death. This man is the walking touch of death. All right, this man has slept Blades. He slept Stipe. He slept Overeem. He slept Rosenstrike. You name it. You name them. This motherfucker slept them. He's built so scary. He is one of the most terrifying builds. He's like a block of muscle. And I'm telling you, working in the sand mines from the age of 12 is the best base for MMA. He got even scarier after he learned to be more patient. Because before you would see him just throw wildly and you could at least say, yeah, if I get hit, I die, but I can see it coming, so I can try my best to avoid it and clinch up with him. When he learned to be more patient, you didn't know when he was going to strike. He learned to be not just more patient, too. He learned to be more precise. So, before you could expect, winging overhands, and then now you could expect, a sharp 1-2 that you don't expect. And then all of a sudden, you wake up in the ambulance, and you're saying, Doc, what happened? And he has to show you a video of it. I mean, this man's nickname is literally the Predator. That sounds a lot worse, but when you compare it with this man, you could be like, not weird, scary. But, yeah, that's about it. These are my top 10, or not top 10, most violent fighters in every division. Tell me who you guys thought should have been on here if you disagree. And that's about it. Bye-bye.